welcome to the final part of day one. This is expressions. And more so, I'm looking at this book I have next to me where they've just captured a bunch of expressions, so don't overly know how that's going to translate. But we'll get them done. I'll try and do as many as I can, because then people will know. So we've got an angry one in the corner. So it is the same principle with his round head. So let's go a bit in. Same principle with his round head. The eyes are supposed to come about 3/4 there. I haven't done much kind of deviation of what we're going to be seeing, because he's always been quite far away. But now that we're next to him, it makes more sense. I realise I'm not talking again. So, in recording this, it is August 24th. And I believe these come out in October, something like October 18th, something like that. That's when they start coming out. The reason I've done this is I've pre-recorded it, so I don't have to worry about if I'm late, if I'm early, and things like that. The only one who really holds me responsible to this is me, which is interesting. What do I want to talk about? Talk about anything. I'll tell you what I want to talk about. I want to talk about animated film budgets, distribution of money. A lot of actors are getting paid to do voices. So, for example, The Rock being paid like 30 million. That's me. The Rock being paid like 30 million to voice Crypto the Superdog and things like that. So they're not worth it. It's probably the best way of saying it. You can look at like, oh, we paid The Rock 30 million and this movie made 300 million, things like that. It's like you could have easily paid like a voice actor and not have to spend that much money. People remember the performance more than they remember who voiced it. I don't actually think a lot of people go to animated films to see people like The Rock instead of voicing a dog. I think they'd probably make a lot better of a film if they. Well, if they. Okay, let's say they paid 10 million to The Rock, which is probably pretty accurate. So let's say they paid 10 million to The Rock. If they paid 1 million to a voice actor as well, they could redistribute 9 million amongst the animators or hire more animators as well. or spend it on marketing. Like that 9 million can easily be redistributed into any sort of cloud that the animation the movie could the Rock could possibly bring. I used to think that the reason they put celebrities' names in animated film was to legitimize them, because I feel like that's something that's always been a problem with animated films in particular, is that people don't see them as a legitimate film. So, for example, if an animated film won an Oscar or something like that, compared to, I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy or something, people would be like, doesn't count, animated film. Although it's still a film. But I do feel like it doesn't seem as it's legitimacy. And in case of like things like The Rock getting 10 million for animation, it's really overblown. Because I guarantee, like I said, I guarantee the people who are interested in the film, for example, the core demographic of it would be like parents taking their kids. So the kid's not interested in who is voicing a tiger. Let's say. And the parents aren't going to be like, oh my god, they got James Woods to voice a tiger, or they got Leonardo DiCaprio to voice a tiger. That's not going to be like, well, now I got to see the movie and things like that. If the kid wants to see the movie, the parents are going to make him go see the movie. That's the real sort of thing. Make it appeal more. Just work on the appeal and the marketing and things like that. Because ultimately, kids want to go to the film to see the. They just want to see the film. And they get really into it nowadays. I think that's one thing I quite admire about the kind of generation, the younger generation of today, is they really get passionate about these sort of things. And I think it's because they're in a very passionate world at the moment. You know, never in history have we before been allowed to, or been open to the global world to share your passion and things like that. Things like, I mean, gaming and things like that is just huge. Especially online gaming and things like that. Because it's people, all it is just people sharing their love of something. Yeah, I read somewhere recently that gaming has now overtaken the film and music industry in the UK. And it's massive. But it's still not seen as legitimate. We still have people going like, well, you know, it's nothing compared to the rap scene. Right. It's never gonna win. But I think the whole thought process of one winning over the other is very stupid. Because it's not like people only watch films or only play games. You know, I play games. It's not like I only play games. Like I've never watched a film or listened to music in my life. Most games I play, no. Most people find this weird, so I'm curious to know if anybody else ever does. If anyone's watching. I play all games with no sound. Just always have. And it's not like I can't play them with sound. Just play them without sound. I'll be on a call with somebody or talk to somebody, sure, sometimes. But most of the time I just play in dead silence. My brain kind of makes the sound. So I don't play with that sound because I don't know. Which makes it incredibly difficult because I go to a friend's quiz occasionally and he always has a music note. I'm like, oh, I don't know any of these bloody songs. And it's just 10 points I lose in that quiz every time. I always guess Perfect Dark. I've never played Perfect Dark, and to be honest, I don't really know what Perfect Dark is. But it could be Perfect Dark. When it is Perfect Dark, I'll stop guessing Perfect Dark. In fact, it was Perfect Dark once, and I guessed Tomb Raider. So there are a lot of wide expressions. Let's try and do a. Every time I always have grand ideas of success, I immediately think of what I can do with my friends and family. Things like that. So I would really love to animate and make a whole game, things like that. And I'd love to run my own studio one day, either animation studio or game studio. I think game studio first because I think game studio would be better because I can help more with the whole process. But I'm not a great writer. I write a lot of boring stuff. I'm better at talking and things like that. So, and mechanics and how they would work. I prefer thinking about that whole grand idea of things. So yeah, I prefer thinking about that. So I love new games because I have a lot of ideas for games, and then I eventually want to do a series on YouTube of animating game ideas, like an animated GDD. Just because if I can have these ideas, publish them online, people see them and go like, oh yeah, things like that. Because fundamentally, like the games I'd want to make animations about, just as like a pitch and things like that, I'd want to see them in real life because I'd want to play them. Pretty simple. So I've currently got this week, last week. I haven't been ticking these off as I go. That's what my book was. Yeah, I've currently got. I can find it. Anyway, I've currently got this week, next week. I have planned of what character I'm going to do, but I don't have any idea for week 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. I've got a few in mind: Pinocchio, Porco Rosso, Lisa or Bart from The Simpsons. Asterix or Obelix. Dick Tracy, I don't know why he's there. Yeah, so I've got some ideas of what I'm gonna do, but to be honest, like, there's a lot of characters I've wanted to make fan animations of for a long time. So this is like a real happiness to me. Because I always get scared by approaching characters like this. Like, I want to just load up and I just want to load up, do one animation and call it that. But then I do it and it doesn't look a thing like it. So to actually go away, study the character, work on it, come back. Well, to have a day studying the character. And to get it to a point where I'm actually improving, and I'm improving the characters I actually wanted to see animated in a way I wanted. It's really, really magical. I've said it in a job interview once that I think I didn't get a job. I think animation is the ultimate form of art and expression. Because I like art and expression, but I think that you're limited by what you've made. So, for example, that with the Mona Lisa, things like that, looks great. But if he was an animator and things like that, you'd have a story of the character instead of an interpretation of the character. You can make him think and do whatever you want. There's really no form of art like animation. And I think video game animation is even more interesting. I think because a lot of video game animation, people don't really realize that a lot of it's genre specific. So, for example, the things you do in a top-down role-playing, real-time top-down strategy game, the animations in there are a lot slower, broader. Whilst in an FPS or something like that, it has to be a lot snappier and things like that. In a fighting game, it has to even be even more snappy. It has to feel like you're actually, as you've pressed it, it's already done. But you registered all of it. So it's really fascinating that every single piece of, or every single genre of the game requires very different animation. I think the basic one, it's probably platformers, but you'll find more or better animation in platformers from the enemies than you will the hero, because the hero has to be very quick, and to be honest, there's sort of like a lot of rules in terms of platforming character animations that you follow. Like, you just kind of copy what's come before. Not because not because you're lazy or things like that, just because the platforming genre is probably one of, or if not the most optimized 2D animation genres. For pixel art, for anything. So people really have really taken it to the extremes and found out what's kind of the best solution for everything. And also, your character will do a lot of the same movements. You know, running and jumping. It's pretty much universal in all platformers. So you don't see as much innovation in the animation for that, but that's pretty good. Now, back on the topic at hand. We've done 7 expressions, and I think we're going to end with one last one. So when I originally picked out this week, it was either Bugs or Daffy. And every single day I did it. Every time I thought about it, I thought I want to do the other one. So for example, if on Tuesday I was like, oh, I want to do Bugs Bunny, on Wednesday I'd be like, oh, I want to do Daffy Duck. They just kept coming one after another. So I really couldn't pick between the two, and to be honest, in the end, my thought process was Bugs Bunny is very similar in personality, but in the same way he's kind of the main character to Mickey Mouse. Whilst Daffy Duck is a much broader. To be honest, he is similar to Donald Duck, but I didn't do Donald Duck, so it's very, very different. Which means the animations I can make and will be very different than the other ones. And Bugs. That's what I'm sort of focusing and talking at the same time. Quite a skill. I did a presentation once on gaming, and I was like, thank God it's a topic I know. And I chatted for a long time, and a lot of my co-workers were impressed with it because they were like, well, you don't know much anything, and I am. But it made me realise that if you know a lot of topic, or if you have a lot of knowledge in a topic or something like that, you can resort back, start talking about that knowledge in the topic. Not only does that create space for your mind to think, but it also reinforces to your audience that this guy does actually know what he's talking about. So, because it was a topic about gaming, I'm like, oh, I've played tons of games. Oh, I know, I kind of know what's good in games and bad in games. Not overly true. I mean, I don't really play like Bejeweled, whatnot, or Mahjong. I still don't even know how the hell Mahjong's played. Apparently it's very fun though. I kind of try one day. But because I had a lot of knowledge of games and a very current knowledge of games, because I do play games that come out nowadays, I could very easily do them. So if you're gonna have a presentation, brush up on your knowledge of the subject, so that if you don't have anything to say, you can say like, well, you know, like, oh, it's when you do, when you go surfing and an aileron roll happens, or something like that. So, you know, find out the positives and negatives of a lot of things, not just for the presentation, but for yourself. And you probably find it pretty interesting. Okay. So we did 8 Daffy Duck expressions, ranging from angry to what the hell to exclamation. A lot of them are very practical. One happy one. I don't know why I gravitated towards them being angry a lot more. And finally, a nice confused one. And I think what we missed out on in a lot of these expressions, because I think this last one here is sort of the best, and this one, is that the eyes need to be big. And the eyebrows need to be very present in that they're deforming the skull. They just look better when they do that. The beak needs to be quite crisp. like a very small bottom jaw. Like, see, I've kind of got a fat bottom jaw here, and it's a bit odd. And the length of it. I think the best two are probably these two, and then maybe that one's third. The rest, they're good, but they've got something else for them. It'd be interesting to see how that all works out for the upcoming days. Tomorrow is a reaction or take or a walk cycle. But for today, that is Daffy Duck. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye!